When you look up at the night sky, it is incredibly easy to imagine you are staring out into an endless, empty void. Our brains naturally interpret space as a static, infinite three-dimensional box, where the stars and planets are just glowing objects sitting inside it. But space actually has substance. It is a physical, measurable fabric, and ever since the Big Bang, that fabric has been continuously stretching and warping. We can measure that stretching from right here on Earth. The problem is our perspective. Because we are locked inside the universe, we have no vantage point to step outside of it and observe its overall geometric structure. How exactly do astrophysicists measure the external shape of a room they can never leave? The specific curvature of the cosmos acts as a fundamental diagnostic for our reality. It dictates the mechanics of how every galaxy, star, and atom will eventually behave. Figuring out the precise geometric shape of the universe is the only mathematical way we can predict the exact timeline and the specific mechanism of the universe's ultimate death. The foundation for mapping out the universe comes from Albert Einstein and his theory of general relativity. He proved that the mass of physical objects actually bends the shape of the space around them. To find the shape of the entire universe, astrophysicists use a metric called critical density. This is the precise mathematical ratio of all the matter pulling inward with gravity, weighed against the force of cosmic expansion pushing outward, required to keep the universe perfectly balanced. If the density of the universe is higher than that critical limit, gravity overpowers the outward push of expansion. Under those heavy conditions, the entire universe curves in on itself to form a closed, spherical shape. If you traveled in a straight line for long enough in this scenario, you would eventually end up exactly back at your starting point. On the other hand, if the density of matter is lower than the critical limit, expansion easily defeats gravity. The fabric of space aggressively snaps outward into an open, never-ending saddle shape. But there is a third option. If the density of the universe perfectly matches the critical limit, gravity and expansion are caught in an exact, eternal stalemate. The saddle shape flattens out entirely, leaving a rigid, infinite 3D plane stretching in all directions. To figure out which of these three shapes we actually live in, modern astronomers measure the oldest light in existence, the cosmic microwave background. They track the angles of these ancient light rays as they travel across the cosmos to reach Earth. This diagram illustrates the results of those measurements. Two laser-like rays of ancient light travel across a vast distance, and after billions of light years, they hit our telescopes, remaining geometrically parallel the entire time, without any spherical or saddle distortion. Because these ancient light rays travel in perfectly straight, parallel lines, they provide mathematical proof that our universe is locked exactly at critical density. The cosmos is entirely flat. A perfectly flat universe means gravity will never be strong enough to pull everything back together. We can definitively rule out a big crunch scenario where the cosmos collapses in on itself. An unseen force is actively accelerating the expansion of this flat plane, driving galaxies away from each other faster and faster every second. If we project this accelerated flat expansion deep into the future, the space between galaxies will eventually stretch so rapidly that light itself can no longer cross the widening gaps between them. Once these massive galaxies are completely isolated from one another in the dark, their internal gas clouds will deplete. With no new material drifting in, star formation will permanently cease. Physicists define this ultimate cosmic endpoint as the heat death, or the Big Freeze, a final state where the universe reaches zero thermodynamic energy, and nothing can ever happen again. The fact that our universe measures out to be geometrically flat dictates this final outcome. It is a direct mathematical guarantee that our cosmos is on a one-way trip toward an infinitely cold, lonely, and permanent silence.